It all begins in the spring, the season when everything starts fresh and the flowers bloom. That romantic vibe hangs in the air, with couples taking pictures and enjoying the day. Youth blossoms alongside the excitement of students running around and having fun. And it was right around this time that the MC's life took a completely unexpected turn. A girl pins him against the bookshelf, proposing a bet on their final grades. Frantic, he asks her to calm down and settle everything just by talking it out. But she smiles excitedly, saying the loser becomes the winner's servant until graduation. In his head, the other students probably think it is just some teenage flirting. With no way out, the young guy thinks to himself, silently begging for help from anyone watching. Meanwhile, the courtyard carries on as usual, with the crowd making plans to hang out and play games after class. Right nearby, some girls chat excitedly about how cute a TV show was. The MC sighs in frustration, not understanding why he has to go through this stress. Just then, two female students apologize to him after playfully bumping into him. He just stares at the situation with a completely serious and indifferent expression. Without giving it much thought, he tells them to watch where they are going and keeps walking. The girl gets annoyed by his attitude and immediately asks if he wants to pick a fight. Her friend quickly steps in, holding the girl back and asking her to just let it go. The 18-year-old is a sophomore in high school and is quite popular around there. The female students whisper behind his back, saying he is a total study buff. He gives a half smile, thinking that if they studied, they would have a better future. If everything had gone as planned, he would have stopped by his usual coffee shop that morning. There he usually got a classic iced coffee and a sandwich for breakfast. Then he would take the school bus while memorizing some English vocabulary words. Upon arriving at school, his routine would stay the same, keeping his focus entirely on his books. Right after regular classes, his destination would be the prep school to study even more. And to wrap up the day, he planned a quiet evening reviewing subjects at the library. However, the reality of that morning was quite different when he arrived at the coffee shop. He is faced with an empty shelf and finds out his favorite snack was already sold out. The cashier apologizes, explaining that another student bought them all just a little while ago. He thanks her politely, but deep down, he is extremely annoyed by the situation. Keeping his composure, he says goodbye to the worker and mentions he will be back the next day. The young man leaves the place empty-handed, and his mood is already ruined. At the bus stop, he sighs heavily, feeling like luck is not on his side. Suddenly, something catches his eye, and the guy turns his head in surprise. A girl from the same high school is standing right nearby, scrolling on her phone. The two wait for their ride side by side without exchanging a single word at first. He notices the girl and sees that she is holding a very full bag in her hands. To his shock, the bag is packed with the exact sandwiches he wanted. He realizes instantly that she is the one to blame for wiping out the coffee shop's stock. The girl feels his intense stare on her and looks up, looking a bit confused. With an intimidating posture, she asks directly why he is staring. Nervous, the guy looks away, making up an excuse that he was just reading the poster behind her. Fortunately, the school bus arrives right at that moment, cutting through the awkward tension. Wasting no time, they start boarding the vehicle to head to school. He gets on quickly and tries to keep his distance, thinking she looks like trouble. Focusing on his studies, he decides to just go back to memorizing words from his notebook. But when he steps on the stairs to fully get inside the school bus, the driver yells, telling the boy to stop right where he is and wait a second. The man announces that the bus has reached full capacity and tells him to catch the next one. The student's eyes widen, completely outraged by that unexpected situation. Desperate, he begs, saying he does not mind standing during the ride. He insists he will be very late if he cannot get on right at that time. However, the driver stands his ground and repeats that standing during the ride is not allowed. At that moment, the guy looks up into the bus and notices a small detail. The same sandwich girl is inside and sticks her tongue out, teasing him. The doors close slowly, leaving the young man outside on the sidewalk. The vehicle speeds away while he stands there, unable to believe what he just saw. Boiling with anger, the MC wonders what is wrong with that crazy girl. Time passes and the school bell rings, signaling the start of classes. In the teacher's lounge, the coordinator immediately points out that he just arrived late. The teacher keeps typing on her computer and mentions that this tardiness is not normal for him. She calmly swivels her chair to face the student and asks for a good explanation. But upon looking at the guy, she gets a huge scare and covers her mouth in shock. The boy has dirty clothes and messy hair, looking like he got into a brawl. He tries to deny it and remembers the struggle he went through right after missing the school bus. Seeing he would be late, he started running frantically through the neighborhood streets. While running non-stop, he kept thinking about how this was turning into the worst day of his life. But the part that annoyed him the most in the middle of that crazy rush was remembering the girl's teasing, and out of sheer distraction he trips and falls. The boy faceplants on the sidewalk in front of several people passing by. Back in the present, the teacher lets the tardiness slide this time and sends him to class. Walking down the hallway, the student grinds his teeth, blaming the girl for all of this. He does not know her name, but he perfectly remembers the school uniform she was wearing. Angered, he promises himself he will not let it slide if he runs into her again. However, he soon sighs in resignation, figuring the chances of them meeting again were very low. The young man opens the classroom door and walks in slowly, trying not to draw attention. Soon a friend grabs him around the neck, joking about his tardiness and dirty uniform. Annoyed, he asks his friend to let go, but the boy points to a nearby desk. The friend cheerfully announces that he finally got a female classmate to sit next to him. The MC freezes instantly, completely in shock at who he sees sitting there. Stuttering, he tries to understand what the girl is doing there while the whole class watches. The girl gives a mischievous smile and greets the guy, calling him her seatmate. With a super confident posture, she jokes that destiny brought them together. In front of the entire class, she asks him to take very good care of her during the school year. The student is left completely speechless, feeling stress take over his body. Desperate, he turns to his friend and begs him to swap seats right then and there. His buddy is confused, not getting the reason since they supposedly do not know each other. At that point, the girl chimes in, reminding them that the boy wanted that spot so he could sleep. Another female student stands up annoyed, scolding the boys for picking on the new girl. The class president also chimes in, saying they should be helping the girl instead. One more classmate joins in to defend the new girl, calling the MC a jerk. The friend tries to defend himself, saying it is his seat and he will swap if he feels like it. The girls hug the new student, claiming nobody would want to sit next to him anyway. In the midst of this commotion, the door opens again, and the teacher walks into the room. The man slaps his attendance book on the desk, asking whose bright idea it was to change seats. The teacher warns seriously that anyone who switches seats will face immediate consequences. The entire class lets out a groan of disappointment, accepting the older man's order. Defeated, the MC pulls out his chair and sits next to the girl against his will. She notices the distance he put between them and asks if he really needs to show so much dislike. Annoyed, he replies that he does hate it because nothing goes right when she is around. The transfer student just stares at him in silence without giving any immediate response. The teacher starts the class and asks a student to read the next paragraph from the textbook. Following the roll call order, the young man stands up with his book to read. The girl rests her face in her hand and watches him closely while he reads. The teacher praises his reading and then calls on number 21 to continue the text. The student sits back down in his seat with an exhausted expression. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes through the room, startling everyone in there. The MC's chair tips backward and he falls to the floor, making the class laugh. The girl chuckles secretly, saying he should be more careful with his things. He gets up quickly, burning with embarrassment and boiling with anger because she tripped him. The teacher loses his patience and yells the guy's name, grabbing everyone's attention. The man scolds him, saying the model student is very distracted today. The youth grips his desk, trying to stay calm so he does not fall for the new girl's little game. He promises himself he will ignore the girl and focus purely on his own future. But soon, a small paper ball hits his desk while he tries to take notes. He opens the note where she asks if he is mad, but he decides to just ignore it. Without missing a beat, she throws another piece of paper that hits the guy squarely in the head. The recess bell rings and the teacher dismisses the class, asking them not to run. The MC slams his notebook on the desk, not having a single ounce of patience left. He steps toward the girl, demanding she stop bothering him in the middle of class. She smiles innocently, saying she did not say anything bad and tells him to stop complaining. The girl keeps smiling and adds that she did not get his name wrong on purpose either. He points to his own chest to complain, but realizes he is missing his school ID badge. Confused, he looks around, wondering how the item vanished out of nowhere. Suddenly, a memory hits him, and the young man's eyes widen in panic. He remembers his nasty fall on the street earlier and realizes the badge flew off right there. The student drops his head onto the desk, feeling like this is the absolute worst day ever. He panics, knowing that an incomplete uniform and tardiness led to severe punishments. The girl watches his despair and soon comes up with a brilliant idea to fix everything. She taps the desk, getting his attention, and proposes a fun plan to help him out. The new student leans in curiously, asking if he knows any blind spots on the school wall. Soon the two are walking side by side, looking for an escape route through the courtyard. The friend appears out of nowhere, putting his arms around both of them and bragging about knowing the best shortcuts. Their buddy guides them with a huge smile while the MC asks to be let go. To the young guy's surprise, they manage to jump the wall and sneak out of school with zero issues. The MC looks at the fence nervously, wondering if that was really a safe move. The girl teases him, asking if the perfect student is scared of breaking the rules. She gives him a gentle push on the back, letting him know they need to keep moving. The friend waves from a distance, saying he is going to play soccer, leaving the two alone there. Smiling, the boy heads back to the courtyard and wishes the dynamic duo a nice stroll. The student sighs, accepting his fate, and starts walking down the sidewalk with her. He asks nervously if she will get in trouble for not wearing her uniform vest. The two walk together through the city streets, enjoying the cool afternoon breeze. The guy notices the girl stopping suddenly and asks curiously what she found there. The girl points super excitedly to a classic street food stall on the corner. He crosses his arms, reminding her that they snuck out to find his ID badge, not to eat. 5 minutes later, the two are standing at the food stand, staring at the delicious food. The boy sighs in frustration, realizing she just wanted an excuse to get a snack. But suddenly, his eyes lock onto something shiny tossed right on the street. The girl picks the ID badge up from the ground, telling him he should be thankful they found it so fast. All of a sudden, a security guard shows up yelling, asking what the two teens are doing outside of school. Their homeroom teacher demands to know their names, completely furious about the situation. The girl has no idea who the man is, while the MC freezes, recognizing their teacher. Far away, their classmate slaps his forehead, remembering he forgot to warn them about the teachers. Without a second thought, the new girl grabs the guy's hand and pulls him, telling him to run right away. As they flee, she flashes a huge smile, commenting on how this chase felt like a movie scene. But the young man panics and tells her to run for real, fearing the serious consequences. Arriving at the school, the girl warns that if he gets caught, she will ditch him and still snitch on his name. Already safe in the hallways, the friend notices the full bags, questioning why they bought so much stuff. The MC just walks in silence, remembering that both of them missed lunch because of him. Feeling the weight of guilt, the guy decides he needs to return the favor the girl did for him earlier. The friend starts teasing him, laughing and asking if the perfect boy is now catching feelings. Annoyed by the joke, the student tells him to zip it and walks into the classroom with a sigh. But as soon as he looks through the door's window, he freezes in surprise upon hearing his own name in the conversation. Some female students ask the new girl about their little trip, and the guy hesitates, thinking this is all a waste of time. The girls comment in shock about his difficult personality, recalling the morning's drama. Outside, the MC already imagines they are saying the worst things possible about him. His friend enjoys it, wanting to hear more gossip, but the young man prefers to just walk in and put an end to it. Suddenly, the transfer student surprises everyone by saying she actually found the guy cute. The female classmates are completely paralyzed, unable to believe the answer they just heard. In the hallway, the student gets such a huge shock from the compliment that he ends up dropping his phone. He turns bright red and stands completely unresponsive, processing the word cute spinning in his mind. The shock of the revelation is so absurd that it seems to echo through all four corners of the school building. Trying to hide his nerves, he turns his head away and tells his friend he is going to stop by the cafeteria first. Without waiting for an answer, the guy runs down the hallway, hiding his face as he flees from the classroom. His buddy is left standing at the door, thinking he is a fool since they literally just got back from outside. Inside the room, the girls start screaming euphorically, not believing she found him attractive. They surround the new girl, asking if she bumped her head or if the boy cast some sort of spell on her. In the midst of the chaos, the door swings open abruptly, and one of the girls asks fearfully who is there. A sneaker steps firmly onto the classroom floor, revealing that someone just heard all that screaming. The friend walks in with a curious smile, asking directly if the new student likes the MC. Caught off guard, the girl looks away and mutters while fiddling with her notebook that it is not quite like that yet. Looking a bit awkward, she explains that she thinks he looks like a little puppy and asks if that counts. The entire class falls silent, trying to process that crazy comparison she just made. She pulls out her phone excitedly, showing a picture of an 8-year-old chihuahua that is her family pet. The classmate refuses to see more pictures, but mentally agrees that the angry dog really reminds him of his friend. Frustrated by the lack of romantic gossip, the boy claps his hands and tells everyone to get back to studying. However, the MC did not hear any of this last part since he was still fleeing down the stairs. The young man walks through the courtyard with his face on fire and his heart racing because of the compliment. He thinks about how, in his 18 years of life, his contact with girls had always been strictly academic. The only interaction he could remember was female students returning lost school supplies in a super blunt way. That is why that comment about him being cute dropped like a bombshell, completely wrecking the guy's sanity. Trying to focus on the present, he looks at the bag full of sweets and snacks he bought for her. Back at his desk, he hands over the treats, leaving the girl surprised by his unexpected gesture. With a sweet smile, she sincerely thanks him for the help and for buying those tasty snacks. The student turns his face away, burning with embarrassment, while she jokes that he is so full of surprises. Excited about the food, the new girl bends down and starts looking for something inside her own backpack. She pulls a sandwich from her bag, revealing that she had bought extra just to share with a friend. The MC widens his eyes as he accepts the snack, connecting the dots about the missing store inventory. The girl notices his completely red face and asks worriedly if her seatmate is feeling sick. Desperate, the young man jumps up, shouting that he is just hot from running earlier. The student blinks several times, not understanding a single thing about the boy's exaggerated and defensive reaction. Classes finally end and the teacher says goodbye, telling everyone to head straight home. In the hallway, the girls from class surround the new student, inviting her to eat at a famous restaurant. Super excited, they pull their classmate by the arms, warning that they need to hurry to grab a table. But before getting dragged away by her friends, the girl turns back and shouts the MC's name. The student, who is putting away his supplies for prep class, looks up quickly. She waves with a bright smile, thanking him for the fun day and saying, "See you tomorrow." Walking to the bus stop, the guy sighs, thinking to himself about how weird that girl was. Meanwhile, the girls on the street question the new student, thinking the two were already longtime friends. The new girl denies it by shaking her head and receives some candy from her classmates, who laugh at the crazy situation. They continue on their way, chattering about how the nerdy student actually seemed like a fun guy deep down. By nighttime, the MC is focusing on his prep school studies, but he cannot get the girl's image out of his head. He tries to solve the math problems in his notebook, but ends up writing her name while lost in thought. After thinking a lot, the young man taps his pen on the desk, arriving at the brilliant conclusion that she is in love with him. Now in his bedroom, he stares at his phone screen, totally confused, trying to figure out the reason behind this love. He splashes cold water on his face in the bathroom, trying to shake off the illusion that the new girl has a crush on him. Lying in bed staring at the ceiling, he remains stuck in this loop, doubting his own charm. The following morning, he arrives at school looking like a zombie, and his friend asks if he pulled an all-nighter reading. The teacher walks into the room, telling everyone to take their seats since it is the day to hand back the March exam grades. The new girl jokes around, hiding her own grade, and asks cheerfully if he did well on the tests. The student opens his report card with confidence, knowing his hours of hard work would earn him first place. However, his expression crumbles instantly when he sees that the grade was the worst he has ever gotten in his life. Paralyzed in his chair, the young man enters the denial phase, thinking he filled out the answer sheet all wrong. Right after that, he moves on to the anger phase, shaking with fury and swearing the paper had to be fake. Completely freaking out, the MC grabs a classmate by the collar in the library, saying it is the end of the line for them. Just then, a female hand appears out of nowhere and calmly pulls a book from the very same shelf where the commotion was happening. The girl shoves the guy without any hesitation, making him complain about the cold bump he just took. The student recognizes the new girl immediately, while she calmly asks what he is doing there, losing brain cells. She mentions that he must have done terribly on the exams to be wearing that face of someone who lost everything in life today. Ignoring his stress, the girl holds out a juice can, claiming she is feeling quite generous right now. She jokes that the drink is an advance payment, since he seems to lack the energy to even get mad at her presence. The young man holds the drink in silence while listening to his classmate downplay the situation, saying it was just a meaningless test. Frustrated, the MC puts his hand on his head, admitting to himself that he lost his mind by getting distracted with useless things. The new girl completely changes her expression and throws it in his face that this failure must be the norm for people like him. The guy completely loses his patience and steps toward her, demanding respect while the other students watch the argument in shock. The girl stands paralyzed, listening to him fire off angry words, while the crowd around them starts making up couple gossip. Totally offended, the girl delivers a solid kick to the student's shin, asking who said she ever wanted anything to do with him. She turns her back and walks toward the exit, telling him to control himself because she would never date someone with that kind of temper. Angrily, she mutters that her own grades would drop 100 spots if she hung out with him, and is soon called by another voice. In the midst of the chaos, the girl ends up losing her balance near the shelf, and the MC runs quickly to try and catch her. However, the impact is too strong, and the guy's glasses fly off while he tries to cushion his classmate's heavy fall. The two fall hard onto the library floor, and the student grabs his leg, complaining about the pain and asking if she broke a bone. Scared, the new girl threatens to report him for assault and panics upon seeing the boy crawling toward her nonstop. She keeps rambling in terror, thinking she will be punished right there, and claiming the guy would certainly end up behind bars. But the youth surprises her by pinning the girl against the bookshelf with a firm slap of his hand, cutting off her rambling instantly. With his face very close to hers, the MC stares intensely at his classmate and proposes a serious bet using their final grades. Realizing the tension, the guy starts breaking into a cold sweat and nervously asks her to calm down and settle everything just by talking. The new girl flashes a mischievous smile, accepting the challenge, and declares that the loser becomes the other's servant until the end of high school. Far away, the other students watch the whole scene, deciding not to interfere because the gossip was way too juicy to ruin. Some female students get worried, thinking they should call a teacher since the vibe felt way too tense between the two of them. Other girls agree, commenting on the MC's unpredictable behavior and how he always draws a lot of attention. Suddenly, a male student runs in and points frantically, warning that the perfect classmate was getting a beatdown from the new girl. The boy scolds the group for not calling a supervisor and says he is going to get the librarian as quickly as possible. While chaos runs wild, some female students just admire the boy who just walked in, sighing over his striking good looks. Wasting no time, the mysterious student turns his back and sprints down the school hallway to get help immediately. Right after, the guy flashes a smirk, seemingly having a lot of fun with all that drama going on inside. The red-haired youth finds the situation super interesting, unable to believe that the model MC ended up like that. He peeks through the gap, watching the girl closely, getting really curious to find out what kind of personality the new girl has. The atmosphere at school remains busy, with students enjoying outdoor activities during that long day of classes. On the sports court, a volleyball crosses the net, while the topic of the huge grade bet spreads like wildfire. The students stop their game on the sidelines, entirely focused on gossiping about the biggest scandal at school right now. One of the boys stares at his classmate in disbelief, asking how he had the nerve to suggest something so absurd in the middle of school. The MC looks away, recalling the tense scene, and admits he was practically forced into that crazy challenge. Far away, the girl watches the activity on the sports court, while hearing someone call her name in the middle of the conversation. Her friends surround the new girl in a panic, asking why she chose final grades out of everything to bet her own future on. One of the girls tries to knock some sense into her classmate, warning her that the guy is known for being the top student in the entire school. The friends warn her that being his servant would be a daily nightmare, and then ask if the new girl actually has any academic skills. The girl just mutters thoughtfully while fidgeting with her hands, showing that reality was finally sinking in for her. Giving an awkward laugh, she jokes that she would just transfer schools again, proving to her friends that she had no plan whatsoever. Her memory flashes back to the library, where a classmate walked in and scolded them both for acting like children in the middle of school. As punishment, the duo had to kneel with their arms raised, listening to a huge lecture on respect and good manners right there. Once in the hallway, the girl jokes about their punishment, but the student claps back, claiming he does not care about losing a few points on his record. The girl flashes a sharp smile, asking if the school's model student should not care a lot more about keeping his record squeaky clean. Annoyed, he accuses the girl of setting the whole thing up on purpose, starting yet another shouting match in the middle of the empty school hallway. The girl stops walking and changes the subject, demanding a final answer about the huge bet they had started in the library. With a highly confident posture, she leans forward, teasing the guy and asking if he was scared of losing. The student changes his expression instantly, returning a sharp glare and firing back that she was the one who should be terrified. The guy accepts the challenge without backing down, stating that pushing the deadline to finals would not help the girl escape her defeat. However, what the boy did not realize was that the new girl was already fully aware of the massive hole she had just dug herself into. During class, she tries to stay focused, highlighting all the important parts the teacher required in their daily study materials. The pace of the class takes its toll, and the girl panics, scribbling on her paper as she realizes she could not copy the lesson in time. Lost in the lesson, the new girl glances sideways, wondering if it would be better to swallow her pride and ask her seatmate for his notes. But seeing the guy's flawless posture, she realizes that beating someone who literally breathes books every day was mission impossible. Annoyed, the girl pulls at her hair, giving up on his help, and decides to grab the class notes from any other classmate. With his mind racing, the MC stays concentrated, shining with an aura of pure dedication in the middle of the empty classroom. A classmate invites the guy to hit the cafeteria for some food, but he politely declines, stating he needs to use the restroom. The student walks across the room and notices that the new girl is already out cold on her desk, sleeping heavily after trying too hard to focus on her studies. Walking toward the hallway, he doubts his classmate's determination would last very long, until something catches his eye. Right outside the classroom, he spots the girl chatting casually with the red-haired boy who had spied on the duo earlier. The upperclassman raises his hand in a friendly manner, greeting the new girl with a wide smile that oozed confidence in the hallway. The girl steps back, getting a huge scare, which makes the young man laugh and apologize immediately for popping up by surprise in the hallway. Excited, the young guy strikes up a conversation, mentioning the library scandal and claiming that the MC's expression was absolutely priceless. Curious, the girl tilts her head to the side, asking if they were friends since their personalities seemed like total polar opposites. The redhead scratches his cheek, keeping an awkward smile, hesitating briefly before giving his official answer to the group. He shakes the new girl's hand, confirming the friendship, while she finds it weird how such an opposite duo managed to get along so well. The MC appears in the hallway and completely freezes, observing the interaction between the two with an expression of total confusion. His friend turns his head at the shout, while the girl widens her eyes, startled by the sudden arrival of her betting rival. Flashing a huge smile, the boy in red greets his buddy, ignoring the sour face the student was making. The MC tries to fix the situation by apologizing for the mess, and the new girl comments on how his friendships are quite interesting. The energetic boy introduces himself to the new girl, saying his name is Yuhan and tells her not to forget it. The two continue chatting very casually in the hallway while waiting for the bell to ring for the next class. But suddenly, the friend is yanked backward by the collar of his shirt, interrupting the lively chat they were having. The new girl returns to the classroom, smiling happily with the notes she got while remembering how his friend was dragged away. Meanwhile, another classmate takes advantage of the break to sleep soundly, resting on his own notebooks. The MC adjusts his glasses with a super confident posture, stating that his own pride would never let him fail. The new friend lets out a mocking laugh, finding the massive bet going on between the two in class highly amusing. He points to himself, asking if he looks like someone who studies, seeing as he has never heard a compliment like that even as a joke. The girl blinks in confusion, questioning whether the youth was not friends with the model student who was also the class president. She agrees while scrolling on her phone, thinking this unusual situation actually ended up being perfect for her plans. The guy flashes a huge smile, stating that he was already wanting to get closer to the new student anyway. Time passes and the scene shifts to the back of the classroom, where the girl organizes her supplies in her school locker. The MC walks past her, noticing her good mood, and immediately asks the girl in a dry tone not to get in his way. Already at his desk, the student looks back, bothered, wanting to know since when she had become such good friends with the guy. The girl takes her seat with an innocent smile, replying that they had just met and he was super nice. Teasing her seatmate, she mentions that the new guy was really cool, quite different from a certain someone she knows. The guy boils with anger, feeling the jab, and shoots back instantly, asking whoever said they were friends. The argument is quickly cut short when their homeroom teacher walks into the room, clapping his hands to grab the class's attention. The man firmly announces that he is going to reveal the groups for the new school project and forbids any member swaps. With a swift motion, the teacher pins the paper with the name list straight onto the classroom bulletin board. In an instant, the students rush over, crowding around the board to try and find out who got placed in which team. The model student walks right past the crowd without caring at all, while the new girl tries to figure out what the project was even about. With a mocking tone, the guy tells her to ask her own group members, prompting the girl to call him petty. But his arrogant act vanishes immediately, and the two of them freeze completely in shock upon reading the names written on the paper. Destiny prepared a huge surprise, placing the MC and the transfer student in the exact same school group. The list left no room for doubt, highlighting their names side by side, proving there was no running away from the situation. The other members celebrate excitedly for their team, while the main duo falls into despair over the news. One of the classmates cheers for having one more friend on the team, reminding them that they would have a lot of work before exams. The mood gets heavy and the duo glares at each other, mentally declaring that this group project would be their first major battle.